tonight, and I'm going to turn this over here to Tina and Barbara. But again, thank you guys, everybody, for joining. Be sure in the chat window, even as one of us are presenting or Tim's presenting, we'll be in the background helping answer questions, provide additional resources. At the end, you will receive a screen with a URL with the shared binder, as well as an opportunity to complete a survey and get a professional development certificate. So at this point, I'll turn this over to Tina and Barbara. How are you, ladies?
Hey, Dean. Thank you. Hi, everyone. I'm Tina Schneider, and Barbara's here, and she's going to be speaking pretty soon about some of our new features. We're really happy to have you guys here, and our special guest, Tim Wilhelmus, who is one of our binder authors, who is available tonight to come and share with us how he creates his great binders that we've been noticing over the past couple months. And we've got some other things to talk about today. So let me move to the next slide. We have a couple announcements. And I don't know if you guys have noticed, but the website has changed a little bit from last year. So we're going to talk about some new features. Barbara's going to go over those with you and bring up a couple of best practice pointers that you guys might be wanting to hear. And then Dean's going to go in and give you a tip on how to insert certain objects into a binder using embed codes. And then I'm going to do what I love to do, which is highlight some new binders that have been showing up on our website and talk about them a little bit, and then introduce Tim, who's here to talk about them himself. And then, of course, we have audience questions and answers. And, of course, you guys can continue to chat your questions, and Dean and Barbara and Peggy will be great about bringing them up so we can answer them as they come about. So announcements. It's that time of year where you guys get to nominate your top 10 binders for the year, for 2012. And this is the link here. I don't know if somebody wants to copy that into the chat. It's on our website under Learn More, and it's a form. You can nominate as many binders as you like, one at a time, and they can be in any category that you want to nominate for. Just tell us the binder, give us the binder link and why you found it useful or interesting or what you liked about it. And then we'll announce, we've got a couple weeks up until I think May 20th for nominations, and then we'll get them all sorted and make the announcement. I think we're going to try to plan on doing that at the ISTE conference, but we haven't. We'll announce that as we get closer to that time period. And then we put in, and I don't know, some of you may have noticed that we put a form in on our webinar page. So if you have topics that you want to have us talk about on our monthly webinar, that's the form that you can fill out. It's also under Learn More on our website, and click on Webinar, and it gives you an opportunity to type down your questions or concerns, or if you're interested in presenting your binders, you can mention that to us there. And then our third announcement is we're going to have a booth at ISTE 2012, and if any of you are attending, I don't know how many are, raise your hand if you are, you're welcome to come and use our booth to make a presentation, share a binder with some people, or just come talk about what you've been doing for the year. So we've also got a form for that. It's under the Learn More tab and under Events. So you'll find it there. You just have to make sure that you're signed into your Gmail account in order to view the calendar to set that time up. Okay, so with that, I'm going to pass the mic over to Barbara, and she's going to go over some of our new look and features.
Great. Thanks, Tina. So I'm going to share some things that are somewhat new and some things that are even more brand new. So I'm going to switch over to application sharing so that you can see my binder. And you should see my brownie binder there. I actually love collecting recipes on LiveBinders, and this one has some really fun brownie recipes. But the first thing that I want to talk about is how we've changed the tabs here. We've changed them so that it used to be if your tabs got really long, they would get squished, and then you would get arrows on each side, and you'd have to scroll through your tabs that way. So what we've done is we've added the multiple rows, so your tabs just keep going on to multiple rows, which we think helps you see we had a lot of requests from people for this, and we think it helps make it easier for you to find the tabs that you're looking for.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention that was some of the requests that we had received about the binders, was getting them to be more visible. So we're listening.
Yeah, so we've also added, we rearranged things a little bit and put all the share options up at the top here. And we added both Pinterest and Google Plus sharing here. And Pinterest is interesting because that one just didn't work at all with LiveBinders before, so that was pretty important to be able to add that. So now you can just click on that and share to your Pinterest account. So we've also added some more embed options. So if you click on link or embed, you'll see several different options here. The first one is just a standard URL, and this is the URL for your binder. And that's just something you may want to email out or put in the website if you want. This one we added recently, it's the current tab URL. So if you're in a tab in your binder and you want to send that tab to somebody, you just click on this menu from that tab, and it'll have a link to that particular tab. And I actually use this. I love this feature. I use this all the time for a tips and tricks binder. So when I'm trying to point somebody to one thing in particular that's in a binder, this is great. So the third option on here is the present URL. And if you've seen our present option, it shows the binder without the top line at the top. So it gives you a little more space. It's a little cleaner. And a lot of people like to share their binders that way. The third one is our embed icon. That's this icon here. And you can just embed that in your blog or website, and it just looks nice. And everybody can see the nice cover on your binder. And a new one that we just added this last weekend is embedding an open binder. So you can actually embed a binder that is open on your blog or website. And here's an example on my testing blog of this binder that's open on and active here inside my blog. So that is a feature that we just added.
Yeah, I have one on my blog that has my favorite TED videos. So it's a nice way to present a bunch of videos at once in a little mini binder.
Yeah, and I'll even compliment you ladies on that, because it was just this weekend, or as a matter of fact, 5 o'clock yesterday Central Time, all my pre-service students had to turn in their teacher application scenario, and part of it is obviously their e-portfolio. And some of the students chose to do the embed and open LiveBinder as part of their e-portfolio submission, so that was kind of cool.
Oh, very cool. That's great. Gosh, I'm amazed that they found that feature so quickly. So the other thing that I wanted to talk about, another thing we just added this weekend, we've always had the ability for you to add LiveBinder to your browser, but we've also now added LiveBinder buttons that you can add to your website or your blog or your wiki, and so that other people can easily add your website to their binders. And here's where you find the code for that. It's under Tools and Add LiveBinder. And you just cut and paste this code into your website. Depending upon which button you want, you can have the little one or the larger one. So that's another thing that we just recently added. And then the last thing I just want to touch on, and this is something I've touched on before, but I just want to make sure people know about it, and that is the ability to search shelves. So we've always had the ability to search public binders and my binders, just the education category, or search by author. And we recently added search by shelves. So if I search something like Common Core, we really have some great curators out there of people where people have put together just entire shelves of great binders that they've found. And for example, Carolyn Starkey is a great curator. She's a librarian. And so this is her whole shelf on Common Core. So that's another great way to find all sorts of interesting binders on the site. Okay, so the one thing I do want to warn people about, and that is if you, since we can now do multiple rows of tabs, that can look a little messy. And this was one of the binders that was already there. Somebody had just added things using LiveBinder and didn't really pay attention to the organization. So this can just get a little messier. The best thing to do is to break it down into categories and move some of those tabs into sub-tabs, and then it just looks a lot cleaner. And actually, I think when you see Tim's binders, you'll see this. He's organized his really well, so he'll give you great ideas on how to do that. So that's it.
Thank you, Barbara. That was pretty good. I know we had a lot of stuff there that had changed. Were there any questions, actually? Does anybody want to go over anything before we move on to Dean?
Yeah, I got one. Okay, let's go back over that LiveBinder button that you briefly touched on. Did you say that was going to be new, Barbara, coming out, or it's out?
It's out. It's there.
Okay. Spill the beans.
So what it means is, so it's like having a Facebook little icon on your blog post. So if you have a blog post and you've got users who could use your blog post in their binder. Let's say you're talking about storytelling, tools, and you're doing a blog article, or even any one of you guys, I think, have your own blog site. Having the LiveBinder on your web page makes it easier for somebody to add it to their binder. I mean, they could probably use their LiveBinder tool if they have it on their browser already, but they could also use this tool. It's a way for them to add content, your article or your blog post. Okay,
and that's do you guys have that underneath the Tools tab, so that way we could be sharing that with everybody?
Yeah, and it's called Add LiveBinder.
Yeah, LiveBinder bookmarklet is there.
That's on the left, and the other one's far right.
Yeah, the Add LiveBinder.
So that'll sit on your blog page, probably where you put like your Plurk link and your Twitter little icons and stuff.
Right. I'm putting all this in the chat window for everybody, so this way they can see what we're talking about this. No, I haven't shared my desktop.
He's not talking. Yeah, he's just asking a question.
I'm asking questions as a guest rather than a co-host, Peggy.
So somebody that can insert hyperlink on a particular web page to an existing page or section within your LiveBinder. What is that? If you can insert hyperlink. I'm trying to understand the question here.
To be honest with you, SLP, basically now that they've got the option to create a link or embed to a tab, you'd be able to do the tab, but you would not be able to create a link to, let's say, like on a long website where you would have what Google calls a bookmark, where a lot of us call an anchor in the old HTML web page design. It's not that functionality per se.
But she is mentioning here, she has a particular section of her LiveBinder. So if you have, for example, a sub-tab within a tab that you want people to go to, if you go to that sub-tab section or that tab, and you click on the share link or embed icon at the top, look for the tab URL that Barbara had shown. Maybe, Dean, if you open up your desktop, we can show her where that is. And then that will give
do that.
That will give the link to that specific tab. So when they open it based on that link, it'll go straight to the content of inside your binder.
Move the chat out of my way.
In fact, I think I just posted
share
something like that. Let's see, somewhere.
All right. Let me know when you see my screen.
It's almost loaded. There's something in the middle of it, though. A little small box. Okay.
Oh, that was just saying it was sharing it.
And then your chat window is on the left. You have to move that over.
Bye-bye, chat. There we go. Okay.
Okay.
So we'll go back into the shelf, and let me just go into this particular, well, let's just go into this one.
So yeah, so say you want them to go to the one right there, Teach Digital Curriculum, or pick any one of those.
Yeah, let's go Story Chasers. Well,
Story
that's a
Chasers.
website, but you're wanting.
I think she wants to go to a specific part of her binder, right? So then show her the share. It's up at the top. You go up to the top.
Oh, sorry. Close.
Okay. Share, link or embed. And then current tab URL. See the second
right
option there? That one. So that's the one you would give to people.
Right. So let's close window. I'll open a new tab.
Somebody has thunderstorms.
Hey, send that rain our way, please. And there you go.
Yeah.
And there it is.
No rain for us. We have sunshine finally. Okay.
So there you
All
go,
right, so
SLP.
hopefully
That would probably be the best way to do it right there. Barbara shared her brownie binder.
Is that to a specific page in the binder?
Yep, that's to the one that we just had open.
Okay. So that would be an example. Okay. So you're gonna have to open that back up, or you just change the page?
I just closed the tab that we opened to make sure the link worked.
Okay.
Okay, what I'm going to show you guys, folks, are a couple quick little things that, if you remember, obviously, those of you who are familiar with LiveBinders, you can just take the URL, put it in there for a website that's iframe friendly. For example, Discovery Education's website's not iframe friendly, so we're going to hit them up about that at ISTE, so that way Barbara and Tina are both there and we can drag Steve and some of the Discovery people over. But, you know, when your students are doing a lot of projects like Michael Thornton does, or even Jason Schrog, or Tyler Ramadan does, you may want your students to put all their sources in. Well, one thing that a lot of the time you can do, like VoiceThread, instead of putting the entire web page in, we're going to show you right here how to get just the embed code and put it within here. Now, just as explaining this, I already have a wild hair we'll have to try later, and that's to take an embed code of somebody else's LiveBinder and put that embed within a tab or a subtab. That would be a cool test. So let me show what we're going to do. You can choose a tab or a subtab that you guys are familiar with. I'm just going to go ahead for demonstration purposes. I'm going to just say add new subtab. I'm going to click on edit menu.
Hey Dean, I don't see your desktop. Does anybody see his desktop? I don't see it though. Yeah, we don't see your desktop, Dean.
Ow. You're not? I wonder what's going on.
You want to try hitting the double squares again? It says, Peggy says need to start sharing app again.
Well, I've got the yellow frame.
Huh.
Where I've got. Let me hit pause.
Yeah, it doesn't show from me as a moderator. It doesn't show that it's launched.
Well, it says stop sharing, so I'm going to hit stop sharing. Okay, now I'm going to go back into start sharing.
There we go. Okay, now we see something.
It just needs to be woke up, I guess.
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
That would be it. Okay, there you are.
All right, so does everybody now finally get to see my binder and the edit menu open?
Looks like everyone says yes.
Okay. Yeah, you guys will have to let me know what's in the chat window. What we're going to do is I'm going to choose text layout. And if you're not familiar with them, think of PowerPoint. You have a media, which is like a web page, title and media, and so on and so forth. Well, what I'm going to choose here is going to be a one-column text template. This way I could put a title up here. You'll notice that obviously up here you could do all the editing, you could paste from Word, image, everything. But I'm going to just, for right now, I'm going to say VoiceThread project. Now I'm going to go into here. I'm going to close, so it's easier for you folks to see. I'm going to close the edit menu. Now from the edit menu, I'm in the bottom of the box. So here's the top box, the title box. Now here's going to be the text box. I'm going to choose the drop-down arrow. You'll notice now more options show up. Here's the nice thing. We're going to go to HTML. Here's the HTML box. So obviously this is the HTML for the text that's already appearing in there. I'm going to go ahead and just delete that out. So is everybody following me so far? I don't want to rush through this. I want to make sure everybody good so far?
Yeah, looks like it's very clear. Everybody's saying yes.
Okay. I'm going to jump to VoiceThread. Let's go to this project. This one is actually done by a senior in high school a couple of years ago here at Sterling that took second in the state of Kansas in a student media competition. So I'm going to go up to Menu, Embed. I'm going to copy the embed code. As you see there, it's copied to clipboard. We'll go ahead and close that out. Now I'm going back to my binder with the HTML window open, and I'm going to paste in the code. I'm going to hit Update, which is its way of saving it. Give it a moment, and there it is. Then we could just hit play. And there you go. So there would be how you would do that. Now, if you think about it with a table, you know, you could even in the table put multiple videos in here. I've done that before where I'd have video one, a second video, or a third one video there. Maybe you have every student's VoiceThread project embed into there. Or maybe you have a VoiceThread, maybe you have a Voki, maybe you have a Glogster. You know, those are just some things that, you know, that are common to you guys in the classroom that provide embed codes that would give you some ideas that you can incorporate into here. So does everybody see how simple that was? Any questions over the embed code? And then I'll show one more thing to kind of go along with what Barbara was showing as far as embed and open binder.
Somebody had a good question. What's the advantage of doing the embed? And I think for on one hand, you can place it. Obviously, you can use the left, the center, the right. You can put text around it. But also for YouTube now, YouTube doesn't allow videos to embed in iframes, which is used in the binder. So another way for you to get a YouTube video into a binder is to use the embed code, and they provide that, and it works. You can also use our YouTube search vehicle under Insert Media in the editor, and that will also get you to put some YouTube videos in there. But that just gives you flexibility.
Well, and to go along with that flexibility, like I said, then you could have multiple embedded items within the same sub-tab and not have to have a sub-tab or tab for each of them and jump in before from one to one to one to one. You could just view them all right there.
Oh, okay, that's a great point. You could have a multi-channel video display, like 3 video channels at once. That's a good idea. I hadn't thought about that.
I need to try to see if we can embed a Vimeo. I need to try that. I think I've done that once before, but not in a multiplayer like this. Because I'm just thinking, like when I do a lot of Lodi training for administrators and teachers in Kansas and Oklahoma and all, I could put a lot of the videos that I have right there on one sub-tab and be able to say, okay, you watch this video, that video, this video, and then my next sub-tab would be where they could go in a collaborative document and so on and so forth. So, okay, and then just to kind of touch on what Barbara was saying as far as being able to put your e-portfolio out there. As you see here, I also teach pre-service students, and we use KidBlog for them to do all their stuff, but the reason I do that is so they get to actually use stuff that you teachers are currently using in the classroom. And with that, I'm looking for one student in particular.
Are you trying to do like multiple videos together, Dean? I'm sorry, I stepped out.
No, what I'm showing here was what Barbara was talking about, the embed of a open binder.
Oh, okay.
So, for example, what I do with my pre-service students, they had to do for their semester finals, they had to answer 9 questions using a blog post to serve as their letter of application or letter of interest for a job position. And they had to develop an e-portfolio to go along with their post. And what you'll see here, as we scroll through, right here is his embedded portfolio. And I thought that was cool. So that way, instead of just clicking on the binder itself and then going off to the binder in another window, they could interact with the binder here, look at everything that's discussed within their letter of interest.
Oh, very nice.
So that way it just reinforces it, makes it truly interactive.
Oh, yeah. I hadn't visualized what you were saying before, but that totally makes sense.
So any other questions from everybody? Otherwise, I'll
That is amazing. Are these public or are these private? Because
these are all public.
Example.
Yeah, these are all public.
Share that example. Can we share that?
Dean?
Go for it. It's public. These guys, they know it was going to be.
This is really cool. Very clever idea. I really like that.
Yeah, it's so funny. We put stuff out there, and we just are always amazed with what people do with it.
Yeah, and I mean, that was our, we started getting our methods teachers to use the LiveBinders where the students have to go out and do their e-portfolios for their methods classes. So all the features that you guys have been doing has actually made it easier for them. So
well, that's always great to hear.
If they're not wanting me to show them anything else, I'll jump back to the thing and we can move on. Any other questions?
I just want to make sure, Dean, that we answered one person's question. They were saying, how do you do that? And I'm just trying to figure out what, I'm not really good at following the chats and listening at the same time. So did we answer your question? Somebody had asked, how do you do that? And I'm wondering if they wanted to know how to embed an open binder or how to embed multiple videos in one tab. What was, could somebody bring that up again? SLP is asking about screencast and jing. Barbara's answering that.
Okay.
I mean, you can try their embed code, yeah. I would just try their embed code and see if it works, and if it needs to be tweaked,
and I'll be honest, I don't use Jing. My two favorites are Screen-O-Matic or Screencast-O-Matic, and then the second one was Screener, SCEENR.com. The Screener is a 5-minute one. The Screencast-O-Matic is 15 minutes unless you pay $12, which is, you know, chump change when you think about it. $12 gives you unlimited time. You can edit the video, do text overlays. That's where I do most of my longer tutorials with, is with Screencast-O-Matic.
So, Dean, I think Laura was asking, how do you type text next to the video box? Is that right, Laura?
Okay. So back on this one right here. How do you get
video and text on the same page?
Okay.
So one thing you used quite a bit another time was to set it up in a table, but this one's not in a table. But
right. You could even do it this way. So let me do this real quick. Let's go back in HTML. Let me copy that. Okay, I'm going to change this to a to text. See how that stayed? Now I can type. Does that answer your question, Laura?
But you can also type within that box too.
Right, right. You could do that there as well. It just depends on how organized you want it. Do you want several bullets to the side?
Yeah, and I think you used to create a table, which maybe you could show in the
Sure.
Tiny MCE. You click down on that gold, over there on the text editor.
Yeah, I'll jump back in here.
I think
and
it's
then
right
what
next
you
to
can do,
HTML. Yeah,
click
it says
here.
Table. There it is.
Here's the table icon.
Yeah, so you would set up the table beforehand, and then
Right.
you could put a video in one, what do they call those, cells?
Yes, exactly, the cell.
Or a row or something like that, and then type text next to it.
So that way you can specify columns in the rows, and then like you're saying, you jump into the code area. So for example, if I say insert that.
Yeah, I wonder what that will look like.
Okay, here it is here. Now I can go back to HTML, see where the cells are right here. So I can go right here, put the code, then this cell, say, and go update, and notice there it is. There's the text by it, and that way you use the cells to kind of keep everything organized. And that's how you would do it if you wanted to have multiple videos, multiple feeds.
Actually, you could probably try to squeeze that one video in there with the text. You could probably try to put it right in front of the text. So
yeah,
you
we
could
can
have
go back
the
in
title.
here.
Just put it right
and
in
then
front
what
of
we would do,
where it says voice thread project, just put the code.
Yeah.
Well, that's not in a cell, though. I don't think that's going to... I was just going to say put your embed code right in front of where you have voice thread right there. Oh, you're just adding text to it?
Yeah, it did. It went right here.
Okay.
It was in there. And then you guys can go back into the font size, change the font size up.
Yeah, once you hit done on the TinyMC text editor, the borders go away unless you want the borders. You have to set the borders in that the table menu.
Right.
I don't know what
so
the default
is. So I hit done.
Is.
And there they go.
But you can have borders if you set the table to do that. The default, there's no borders. Yeah, you can set a border.
Yeah, we can go back in.
No, I don't remember. Let's see. I don't know if you have to have a crosshair to select it or not.
Are you guys seeing it still where I could go in? So here's your border colors, border color, background color, frames rules, all that's in there under advanced. And then here's channel or general, tongue twist.
I don't know what the class stands for. But that's where you would do it, and spacing and all that.
Right.
And Ying is here, just joined us, who wrote 3 or 4 binders, right, Barbara, on embed codes?
Yes, I was just sharing his binders on in the chat window.
Hi, Ying.
So I'm going to copy this one back out. Any other questions I could answer for you guys for embed and all? Seeing we're taking Tim's time.
Yeah, we do need to move on. So
Yeah, I haven't spoken yet, and you know how I go on and on about these binders. But I'll make it quick. Okay, so we just need to pick that. So Dean, that was great. Thanks for sharing that. And so like I said, every time we do a webinar, we always try to bring up any new binders that we thought might be useful for you guys and try to share them. So obviously there are quite a few, and I'm going to try to go through. I mean, I think I have like 40 binders in the giveaway binder that we're going to give to you at the end of the show. But I'm just going to talk about, 10 of them here really quickly. So, and please go back and take a look at them because they're great resources. So this one here is on the Olympics, and somebody organized a web quest all around the Olympics, and each of the tabs talk about a little bit of the going to London, geography of London, talking about the history of the Olympics, flags. I mean, all kinds of great material has been put in here. If you are interested in doing a project around the Olympics, this would be a great binder to check out. There are a couple of these on the shelf that I put together for you guys, but a lot of great binders were put for high school and college graduates and how to get ready, for the next step in their life. And this one was put together by Brian Page. He did a personal finance binder, so it talks about getting your first apartment, how do you handle debt, what do you do for taxes. This one here is values and personality quiz, which I thought was kind of interesting. How do you participate in charity? How do you get involved in philanthropy? I mean, it's just a really great binder with some great online resources that kids can have access to, and to guide them for the next phase of their life. This one was created, looks like, by a coach at a middle school, and this coach teaches science as well, 8th grade science, and the coach put together this binder for all of his or her science classes, biology, physics, chemistry, and was really nicely said, everything that you need is going to be in this binder. So when this is what you need to do to be prepared. This is what you need to bring. And some of these tabs are calculators. Some of them have example quizzes. He really, or she really, explains every step of the way what the kids need to do so that, they have everything that they need to do well in this classroom. And I thought it was a really nicely organized binder. Here's another college-ready binder, Life After High School, covering all kinds of topics and even information for parents. But I also wanted just to show you that the author here really used a lot of colors and images, and I just wanted to kind of highlight that they really used the text tool to the fullest in this example. So please check that binder out. This one had really great interactives on the digestive system for 7th grade science, and I couldn't stop looking at this particular one because it seems by McGraw-Hill, which I thought was nice. It was a free McGraw-Hill video that they were able to embed in this binder, and it very nicely goes over the whole process of digestion. Really nice animation, very slow, very careful. I mean, I felt that I could learn a lot just by looking at this binder, so please check this one out as well. And this one was a portfolio for a teacher, kind of combination of philosophy, curriculum, vitae, example projects. And what I wanted to point out was all of the media that she uploaded, what came from her Dropbox account. So it kind of just shows you, she didn't do any uploads into LiveBinders, but she was able to work with what she already had, which was all of her material, all her PDFs were in her Dropbox account, and so she was able to organize them into the binder format. So working with a couple of different resources, but being able to bring it together in a nice, easy, organized, simple manner in her binder. And this one is another one talking about integrating different cool Web 2.0 tools. This is just another binder completely about how to use Google Forms. And I think we're going to have Lori Feldman on soon to talk about this, because she's done some great binders on how to take advantage of Google Docs. And this one is all about how you can use Google Forms for more than just multiple choice. You know, how do you use it for administrative uses? How do you use it for doing creative writing? How to initiate writing? How to edit? To do reading. So I just think this would be a great resource to take a look at, and a great way to learn how to embed and use a Google Doc live documents in your binder. And by the way, if you have any questions, just let me know. I'm not very good about reading the chat, so if Dean or Barbara, you can let me know if I need to slow down. This one came out about a month ago. It's part of the NASA Challenge, part of their STEM effort. And the group of authors, teachers got together and put this great binder together of everything that you would need to know if you want to be involved in this project. So it addresses what teachers need to know, what students need to know, and sometimes you look at these projects and you see all the criteria and all the things that you need to do and you just get overwhelmed, but they put it all together, and when it's nicely and neatly organized with examples and helpful hints about how you approach the project, it really makes you want to get engaged, and it makes it seem like it's a less daunting task to be involved. So I really want to give kudos to these guys for really taking the time to organize it and to want to encourage people to be involved. So if you're looking to be a part of this NASA Challenge, please check this binder out. And this one is just a template. A teacher put this together, 8th grade. It's great that these middle school kids are really at the stage in their life where they need to learn to get organized. And this one, you know, is titled "What Your Science Notebook Should Look Like." That's the title of this binder, and I love that the teacher has put instructions on every single tab. You know, here's what our goals are. Here's what you're going to put in this notebook and why you need it. So I thought it was a great example of something that the kids could copy and fill in with the information that they need, and feel confident that they've got everything taken care of. And it's a learning skill, obviously, and they're at the age where they need to learn this. So it's nice having this virtual copy that they can always get to. They can't really lose this document. So I thought that was a great example to share. And you know, we're back on live documents again. This one is a stock market project, and every single one of these tabs is filled with so much data. I mean, I don't know who's putting this together, whether it's done manually, but it's really going to be a huge project. And you know, you think about the daunting amount of information that they're collecting in each tab, but it's, you know, presented, you know, in 5 nicely organized tabs. It's going to be a way for this group to get together and take a look at the data at the end of their project. I don't know where it's going to go, but it's a great way to organize all this live information into an accessible format. So, and they really took advantage of what Google Docs can do with spreadsheets and color coding and all of that. I really like this binder. This one I think is great for creative writing. I think it's great for getting kids to think outside the box if they were doing art projects. So there's another binder like this too as well that I picked one, and this one's by Sally Boone, and she organized each tab for each creativity term, and then she gave an image to the left, and then she gave a textual example of what each of those terms means, and gives activities under each of the tabs so that the kids can really explore the meaning of these terms for themselves. And I just could have fun with this if I were in the classroom, like a bed of roses, you know, writing that idiom down, or maybe, you know, what would it mean to build a bed of roses? I just could see all kinds of creativity projects coming out of this, and I really thought this was the kind of binder that you would keep with you as you go from grade to grade, just so you learn the terms and have it accessible. So obviously that was just a handful of some of the binders that came out, and since the last time we talked to you guys, when we give out the binder, please check out the shelves and take a look at all the great resources and activities that the teachers have put together. So Tim, I'd like to welcome you. You're all the way from Indiana. Thanks for coming out here and joining us.
Didn't seem like all that far for me, actually.
It's wonderful in this 21st century age how we can time
Isn't
travel
it?
like this. So I love
Cool.
how you describe yourself. You're a curriculum and technology integration specialist. And I'm just curious to know if you came in with a technology background or if you started out as a teacher in a particular subject.
I started
you could
out
talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, absolutely. I actually taught high school English for 15 years, and then our school district went one-to-one in the high schools 3 years ago with netbooks, and they did some embedded coaching with that. So I took a job as an e-learning coach, and basically I had the responsibility in one of the high schools to work with teachers and help them, find creative ways to use the technology and to maybe rethink the classroom a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And that was really cool. And then the next year there was a new position that came open, which was, we call it ICATS because it's so much easier, but it's Innovation, Curriculum, and Technology Specialist. And basically now my job is to do the same thing I was doing embedded in that high school, only for our entire district. So we've got 5 high schools, I believe 10 middle schools, and then probably 20 or 30 elementary schools that feed into those. And so on any given day I may be in a kindergarten classroom working with a teacher on blogging, or I might be in a high school classroom, working with the teacher, setting up a Skype session with, I don't know, someone from England or something like that. So I get to play with all the toys, and it's a lot of fun.
Wow. Well, that explains why you have to have a lot of energy to do this, and your websites and your binders all kind of they express how energetic you are and enthusiastic you are. So I can see that you've got the energy to work with all these different schools. And you do a great job on your binders,
I appreciate that. I feel a little bit intimidated because I got to tell you, I learned so much just in the last half hour, and now I want to rethink everything I've done to this point with my LiveBinders. So that's wonderful. I'm very excited to have new tools to bring to the mix.
Well, great. So do you want to share your wonderful desktop
absolutely.
with all of us, and we'll take a look at.
So in my job,
go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. No, please go.
No, I was just going to say that I always talk about these binders, but it's great to have somebody actually talk about the process, and so we're glad to have you.
Okay, it says I'm sharing here. Okay, so can you see the?
Yes, it's almost completely loaded, 3/4 of the way, and you're there.
Fantastic. So in my job, I have a lot of opportunities to work with teachers, but I also spend a lot of my time working virtually for teachers, and it's a real gift, I guess, because I have the time and opportunity to do R&D and maybe do some of the things that teachers don't have the opportunity to do. And so I get to work with teachers not just on the technology side of it, but also on the learning and curriculum side of it as well. And so what I've found is that the LiveBinders have really served my purposes in terms of creating learning objects that I can share with my teachers, either sort of in a very informal way, hey, take a look at this binder, or in terms of connected to directly to a professional development that we're doing. So we'll do a lot, sort of a flipped classroom type of experience, and I'll create a binder ahead of the professional development and send it out to them and say, here's some resources maybe you might look at before we get together and like that. So it's been really, it's been a great tool in that regard. So my workflow I kind of want to put this in context because, like I said, I'm kind of new to LiveBinders. My colleague Michelle Green actually kind of started the LiveBinder kick in our corporation, I'd say, and she was a huge advocate, and I got the bug from her. So, but my workflow, because I have that opportunity, means that I can take time to collect resources, and then I can take time then also to curate those resources, refine the binder, and then pass it on. And so I guess that's kind of what I'm going to talk about, because the neat thing about LiveBinders for me is that they're all in constant stages of production, and none of them are ever really finished, I guess, in my mind. So, for example, when I'm going through the collection process, I'm reading articles from my feed reader, or I'm following Twitter, and I'm reading through other LiveBinders that other people have created, and I'm just looking for the thing that stands out. And when I find it, then I put that somewhere in a binder or some other tool as a repository. And now I'm leaning more and more towards the binders for that. So, for example, if I open up, this is my favorite repository, so I'm going to open it. It's my How Do I Make My Classroom a Playground. And this isn't my favorite or best organized binder, but it's a really good example of kind of the work or how I do this. Is this coming up? I guess you can kind of see it now. Is it coming through?
Yep, it's completely
awesome.
Loaded now.
Cool. I have this concept that I like to work from, which is that if we were to let kids be a little more autonomous like they are on the playground, they'd find learning a lot more fun. And so that really hits on a lot of the things that I end up talking with teachers about, about creating student-centered classrooms, about giving kids autonomy in their learning and they're putting their voice out there, but also giving kids the opportunity to fail, to fall down, and like that. And so that metaphor became sort of my way of thinking about a lot of issues that kind of come up in my work. And so I started this particular binder as, like I said, just a repository of all of this stuff. So as I'm reading in my just sort of general process of doing research, if I find something, I place it in this, that fits in this binder, I place it in this binder, but this binder isn't necessarily one that I'm going to share out. It's one that is sort of my messy playground for me, and it's just this place where I'm going to keep everything that I want, but then I use this as sort of the jumping off point when I start a new binder that I'm specifically going to share. So a lot of the resources that maybe end up in this binder will ultimately feed binders that I'm actually trying to curate for people, if that makes sense.
Yeah, so, I like that model. Yeah, that makes total sense.
Yeah, and the nice thing is, and I believe in this idea of the metaphor, because how do I make my classroom a playground? Well, if I ask that question, then I'm going to come up with some answers, and those answers are going to feed sort of the topics that I'm trying to get at. And so that allows me to create that tab structure that is memorable in my mind, so that when I'm reading something on Twitter or in my feed reader or wherever, and I see something that I just can't live without, I know exactly where it goes because I'm feeling that metaphor, if that makes sense. So once I've done that, if I go back, I'm going to go back to my site here. It's saving. Once I've done that, then when I'm creating a playground like this student-centered learning playground that I have, we actually use this for professional development for a set of for a group of teachers, and it was an all-day professional development where we were talking about making our classrooms student-centered. And so again, this was sort of something that we sent out ahead of time, and because this is our vernacular, but because we use this term playground, what we mean by that is, if we give this to somebody, it's not really a web quest. It's not linear like a web quest, and it's not a step, A, B, C, D, and everybody goes through the same steps. Instead, it's just this place to explore. It's got limits, it's got borders, and it's all pre-vetted, so it's safe. And so, imagine using this with your students, right? But you've got this set of vetted resources that is what makes this such a great curation tool. And I'm not going to give them every single resource maybe surrounding the role of a student in a student-centered student-centered classroom, but what I am going to give them is maybe 5 to 10 really good resources that come at that same topic from different angles. And then what we would do with this type of thing is we would just say to the teachers, you know, follow your nose. There's, you know, some people like to read blog posts, some people like to watch videos, some people like to do interactive, some people prefer to have like a purely text-based but informational, you know, comprehensive website. So what we try and do is put as much variety as we can in these types of things. So you can see, like here, we're gonna, if I go in here, there's gonna be a video here that pops up. Someone who's, you know, inclined to prefer to watch videos may watch 5 or 10 videos from the whole playground, but they haven't done anything else. But that's not the point. The point is that they've done some thinking ahead of time about some of the things we're going to talk about, and that will inform our conversations then when we do the professional development. And so I guess part of what, you know, is my organizational philosophy is, you know, when you're curating, get down to the sort of essential questions that you're trying to address, and then choose just a few really standout pieces that maybe talk to that or speak to that topic. And so that's kind of one of the things that we've started doing. And so, like, a lot of the resources that are in fact in this binder came from the binder that that playground binder that I originally created, and then others came from other binders and from other maybe other buckets of digital content that we use.
You're really
so there's that. Yeah.
You're really defining what curation is all about, because it will have different contexts for different purposes, and so you're using maybe the same material for different purposes, and that's very useful to a lot of people for different reasons.
And what I love about LiveBinders, because there are a lot of pretty impressive curation tools. You mentioned Pinterest earlier. I'm a big fan of Symbaloo for certain things and like that. But the reason that we keep coming back to LiveBinders is because it's both linear and nonlinear at the same time. And you know, a lot of tools, sort of in the current, you know, mystique of or whatever, are very nonlinear, and that's good for a visual learner. But the nice thing about the LiveBinders is they can be nonlinear. I can move from tab to tab or subtab to subtab and follow my nose as much as I want, but at the same time they provide the structure that a traditional learner craves. And really, since we're trained from birth to go from left to right and top to bottom, it's a nice way to create very definitive sort of divisions in terms of concept and like that. And so that's why we like that really well. And so, like, the binder that you guys promoted for me, and I'm like so thrilled. I'm thrilled to death that you did this, because like I've been patting myself on the back. You've given me something to obsess about, by the way. Is the web tools for teachers by type. And the thing I realized about this was, a lot of the teachers that I work with, you know, being able to figure out which is a good web tool is time consuming, and a lot of teachers don't have that kind of time. And on top of it, not only do they not have the time to do the research, but then a lot of web tools aren't as intuitive as we would want them to be, and so those kinds of tools end up wasting even more time for the teachers. So I started thinking, well, what can we do about that? And I know there are a lot of LiveBinders. I actually read a lot of LiveBinders that kind of address this topic, but I wanted to create one that was specifically for our teachers that we were going to share out. And what I really realized as I was creating this was, even though I have all of these tabs that, you know, because to divide this down to visualization tools or research tools, and I could have actually divided it even further, because when you get into visualization tools, I could have done mind mapping tools separate from you know, timelining tools, and separate from word cloud tools and that type of thing. And so one of the things that I started to realize as I created this was, while I was creating this and was committing myself to this particular project, I also now have at my fingertips almost immediately the ability to create other LiveBinders that address a more specific need. So for example, if I wanted to do a LiveBinder for creativity tools, I could just take out, I could copy the binder, take my photo editing, my video editing, my audio editing, and just a few other, like the avatar creation pieces, and put them together and lump them into a single LiveBinder that I can then use to speak to a session I'm doing at a conference, or to hand to a teacher really quickly to just give them exactly what they need. And if I decided to do it, I could take for example, that visualizations tools tab, and I could, after I've copied it, break that tab up into different tabs and their individual sub-tabs as I pointed out. And so, like, I'm starting to have a much more three-dimensional understanding of the tool, because it is more than just a finished product. It's more than just, I can add new tools as I discover them, and I think that they're good tools to this binder if I want. But also I can deconstruct the binder and reconstruct it in any number of forms. And so that's another thing that I really like, and I guess it kind of speaks to how I think about it organizationally too, as far as that goes.
Yeah, no, I think you're really understanding what the potential is and what the motivation was for all of this too. Have you started creating shelves as a way to organize your binders?
Yes, and okay. It's just, again, I've been kind of new to this process, and so no, I have I've started a shelf, which is my education shelf, and like the funny thing is that I didn't realize initially that I could add other people's binders to my shelves, and so like I'm going to have to go back and I have this list of LiveBinders that I kind of kept separately, and I don't know why I didn't pick up on that, but I didn't. And so you can see, you see what I'm saying. But I started now, and I created an education resources shelf. And another project that we're working on, and we haven't done it yet, is we're going to create a sort of shared shelf that we're going to put on our website for, there are 5 of us, ICATs, and we have a website, and so on this website here we'll have a LiveBinder shelf of the LiveBinders that we've kind of curated, along with the ones that we find that are, ones we want to promote with our teachers. So we're really excited about that concept as well. We haven't brought it to life yet.
Share that with us.
Yeah, we're very excited about it.
Get the word out about it. Teachers are always looking for one place to go, and everybody has their own knowledge leader, in their own school district,
absolutely.
Or locally, or even, it can be all over the world. So you guys just have to find the right person who, has the same vision as you. And so it's great we'd love to be able to promote your vision of, and all the curation that you've done, particularly with your experience, and I'm sure that a lot of people in your district would love to have that access.
Well, we're very excited. Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I'm just saying I think you're really getting to get the essence of where Barbara and I are trying to go with the vision of LiveBinders, and we see individuals as being great curation resources, because there is so much information out there, as you said. But sometimes you just have time to get to the real nitty-gritty stuff, and if you're a trusted resource, then that just helps somebody else get to it sooner.
Yeah. And then, I would say 2 things to that, too. One of them is that the writing's on the wall as far as moving from print to digital. We're clearly moving in that direction. Regardless, there's so much incredible content online, and teachers really just need the opportunity to develop the habits of mind and that involve this kind of curation, and involve streamlining, getting digital information to teachers in a sort of organized way, but then also just them going through these same workflows and doing that. And in our corporation, I think President Obama said he wanted to be at print to digital 2017 or something like that. I think we said that we wanted to be there a year ahead of that, and we're in the process now of working with teachers in the sort of liberating activity of moving beyond the textbook as sort of an anchor, and instead being just one resource among many. And so we're very excited about that. And this is another place where we're starting to learn those organizational habits is, I think, a challenge for all of us. We're kind of moving in that direction and trying to get to that point. So I guess that's one thing I would say. And the other thing I would say is, the other thing I'm kind of learning as I go, and I have to again give credit to my colleague Michelle, is that I have a very ADHD approach to learning personally. I mean, I'm perfectly happy moving about in a fairly complicated in digital and unorganized digital environment. So really, most of the organizational pieces that come from that come from conversations that I've had with her, where she says, yes, but if you choose a prettier picture, people will be more inclined to want to look at it, or if you put more transitions in, people will want to. So I mean, part of that's my own learning as well. I mean, I've taken to heart a lot of the things that she said about organizing binders, not just in terms of thinking about the content itself, but in terms of the transitions and the pieces that are inside of that.
Somehow I messed up my mouse there. So maybe we should have you and Michelle back on then, as you guys progress with the ICAT stuff.
Yeah, I mean, we would love that, of course. We're definitely honored. I mean,
we're definitely familiar with Michelle's binders, so it's probably due for her to, if she's willing to come on, we'd love to have her.
Oh, I'm sure she would be. She'd be thrilled. So.
Okay, great.
Well, and like I said, just shoot her an email. She'll be very open to that.
Okay.
So.
Awesome. Well, I wanted to just say one last thing, and then we'll close the session. Thanks everybody for being here and asking all your great questions. Tim, when I was reading your binders, it really sounded to me like you were writing a paper, and I said this in the chat. Each of the tabs spoke to some message that you had about this particular resource or vision,
sure. And
then you had the supporting evidence through the websites and letting the reader come up with their own conclusions about those areas. But I don't know if that's just the way you think, or maybe you're thinking about writing something down the road, but it was really, it made me think, oh, this could actually be a helpful way to write something complicated.
Oh, I think absolutely, and I think to some degree I do think that way. I mean, I do think in that sort of. I probably had an incredibly good research paper teacher, along the way who kind of got me thinking in that outline form. But
it's very
beyond
nice.
that, well, yeah, I mean, but beyond that, it is really. I mean, part of what I really like is letting the content speak for itself, kind of like what you said. I mean, I really like the idea that if I can just collect a few pieces that kind of speak to the same idea, the logical leap between them really only requires a couple of words in a tab. And so, I don't know.
Yeah, and I think that's what makes it really nice for the viewer, is that the context really helps them approach those links. If you were to just put the links without telling why you picked them or what was your context for picking them, it really helps the reader say, okay, I get, context really matters for people, I think. And so when you take the time to write that, I think that's a really nice style technique, and I think it makes sense for sharing links that you're actually holding our hand a little bit and saying, for this context, this is why I chose this, and I think that's a really
absolutely.
Good style approach to creating a useful resource or a project for your viewers.
One of the things I've been playing with is the idea that, for example, in the Web Tools piece, I would really like to, as this develops, actually, as I open a tab, not just have the link itself, but bring in some text to kind of reflect on the individual elements of that tool that I like. If that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that's exactly what I was referring to, because it really, you can put a list of links together and people can go check them out, but you can't. It has a very cold feeling about it, I guess. And so when looking at the way you put your text in it, it really gives it. There's something about it that gives me a little bit more guidance as to how I'm supposed to approach the resources that you've given. So I just wanted to bring that up as a way for our viewers today to kind of take note of that I really noticed. How useful it is to just spend a little time to describe why you picked those resources and what you expect or don't expect from the viewers in this binder. So it's nice. Yeah. So you use Flickr images, by the way. You know we have a Flickr search tool.
I do not know that. So why don't you show me that? Because that would be fantastic.
It's under Edit Menu, Insert Media. Click on the Edit menu.
Yep. Okay. Edit menu.
And then
wait, I do know that. Media. I do know that actually.
The only thing that it does is it puts the author's name like right beside it, so it takes up a lot of space. So the way you've done it is very nicely organized. But I just wanted to point that out, that it was available if you.
Well, you know what I've been using is a tool called I want to say it right, PhotoPin. Have you seen that tool? And
no.
I found it frustrating until I found PhotoPin to find a photo search that quickly brought me results that I wanted, that were also already certainly what am I trying to say here? That were Creative Commons pieces.
Oh, okay, sure.
Okay, so like.
Free to use.
It's free to use. So so one of those tools is PhotoPin, and I have yet to stump the band with PhotoPin. And so I don't know if this is valuable to you or not, but if I
check it out.
if I type in reader, for example. Watch, it'll bring something embarrassing up. It immediately gives me only results of Creative Commons images out of Flickr that addresses, and I avoid a lot, and because it's the first sort of default sort is by interestingness, which I love, I get a lot of great photos almost immediately, and then I can either preview the photo, right? Or I can get the photo, and when I go to get the photo, there's the download right there, and it gives me different sizes, and it also gives me the Flickr URL, and it'll also, I'll have to close the edit menu so you can see this, it also gives me an embed code if I want to use that for photo credit.
Oh, nice. Okay. That's great to know.
So
okay, good. So it's documented now in our recording. By the way, a lot of people look at the recording after the fact. Just I think maybe our time frame is hard for people to log in, but people will be looking at this binder, so this is great. But just so you know, our Flickr search tool only shows results that are Creative Commons licenses.
Oh, awesome.
So anything that you find in there is free to use, and we added the authoring component of it, so it's properly documented, but it's also under details. We document where those images come from automatically if you click on details up there, but don't click on it now. It takes a long time to load.
Okay.
But just so you know, we try to take care of properly acknowledging where information comes from if we can.
Awesome.
So this was great, Tim. I really enjoyed listening to you talk about your process and the vision and how you're using LiveBinders. I'd love to continue this conversation with you.
Yes, absolutely.
Again,
I've really